For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Yeah! Yeah!
Hey! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's it? That's all I get.
Yep.
All right, good enough. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. I'm Jeff Belanger. It's great for you to be with me. Let's be honest. And it's great for all of us to be here. All the oddballs are here. We're ready to roll. It's been a while. We've missed you guys. I want to say hello to everybody. I've been meeting, gosh, over the last couple of weeks, Philadelphia at the Eastern State event with the Ghost Adventure guys in Darkness Radio, and then just a few days ago in Colorado at the Stanley, the TAPS event. That was so much fun. Met a lot of great new people, and hopefully a lot of you are watching right now. If not, why aren't you? I'll never know. You can't answer me. All right, if you're watching live at 30oddminutes.com, jump in the chat room because Sarah Robb and Oddbot3000, who's holding a globe for some reason we can't explain, are waiting for your questions. You can ask them. They'll pass them up to us, to our guest tonight, and it's going to be awesome. Hey, something happened just a couple days ago. This was so cool. We had a you made it moment here at 30-odd minutes. You know you've made it when, check this out, when you're in a comic strip. Look at that. Entities Are Us. Yeah. Terry Garofalo. We'll leave it up.
My punch.
We'll leave it up there for a minute so you can read it. There it is. We made Sunday's comic. 30-odd seconds. All of our names, all of our caricatures. The only thing is, Terry, generally, I don't wear yellow Chuck Taylors. I wear red ones. Just saying. Just saying. Looking for some accuracy there in comic strips. See, red ones. Red. Yeah, got it. All right, good. Excellent. Okay, we always ask you guys, email us at info@30oddminutes.com. Send us Twitters and tweets. See us on Facebook. And you did. Thank you. Sarah, what are they saying?
Well, I was hoping for something kind of maybe a little negative or whatnot, but they love us too much. What can we say? I know. So I picked a tweet, and I think it was meant to be read something like, on the next episode, farting in Al Capone's cell. Someone really liked that. Yeah. And then we also got a Facebook comment that says, OMG, you guys farted in Al Capone's cell? I must have been down another cell block. I thought I heard something, but you know. So apparently they like potty humor. So is that what you want more of, maybe?
we
can do that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for writing to us. Yes, to confirm, I did fart in Al Capone's cell in Eastern State Penitentiary. And you like potty humor. No surprise there on either account, quite frankly. Okay, we get paranormal news from all kinds of sources. And if something breaks, so we're just running the whole thing here, we want to know about it. And Matt Moniz, intrepid reporter and researcher, brought this to our attention. You know, when you're talking about Bigfoot sightings, there's one publication that comes to mind as far as credibility and getting to the bottom of the story. No question, we're talking about High Times Magazine. Yeah, that's right. It's right there on the cover. Bigfoot in Grow Country. And then if we can zoom in, this is great. So Bigfoot sightings where they're growing marijuana. Oh, geez, the trees are green and it's going right to our green screen. But that creature in the beginning, in the middle there, yeah, Bigfoot. So really, it's what we always suspected, quite frankly, and that is that Bigfoot is a pothead.
That's right.
Am I right?
Sasquatch and the sticky. The ultimate hippie.
I can't believe, yeah, get a haircut, hippie. I can't believe we can't find one of these creatures. If they're stoned, you think they're not running, right? They're just like, hey, man, I'm going to leave some footprints. It's all good. You got anything to eat? Come on, Bigfoot researchers. Where are you, cryptozoologists? It's time to find the stone Bigfoot of the Cascades and the Sierra Nevadas. All right. Speaking of Bigfoot, speaking of great legends, tonight that's what we're talking about. Legends, legend tripping, and what a great guest to do it because he's a good friend of ours, and frankly, we made him do the show. Christopher Balzano, he's the founder and director of Massachusetts Paranormal Crossroads, an online collection of legends and ghost stories from the Bay State. Plus, he's been investigating the unexplained for over 15 years now, and he's the author of tons of books, including Dark Woods, Ghosts of the Bridgewater Triangle, Ghostly Adventures, Picture Yourself Ghost Hunting. He's been on dozens of radio programs talking about legends and all kinds of unexplained things. Tonight he's making his debut on 30 Odd Minutes live from our studios in Florida. Please put your hands together for Christopher Balzano.
Thank you, thank you.
Chris, thank you for being here with us. It's awesome.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I'm in Massachusetts.
I know. I mean, when we're talking about Massachusetts, we got to have a guy from Florida, no question. So, Chris, let me start with the question that I ask every one of our guests on 30 Odd Minutes. What's a pukwudgie?
Well, having never watched your show, I'm a little bit taken aback. I don't know how to answer. A pukwudgie is a small troll-like creature who's kind of the subject of a lot of Wampanoag lore. I'm sure he exists, and I've actually documented his existence through Native American cultures, Irish cultures, Australian, but in good old New England, good old Massachusetts especially, they're known as pukwudgies. And they're these small mischievous creatures, think like a classic version of a leprechaun, not the nice St. Patrick's Day one, but the kind of the troublemaker, the jokester, who sometimes can be something more than that. And you've got a pukwudgie. And these creatures, although there's a ton of lore associated with them, are something that are still being seen in Massachusetts and throughout the world today. So they're kind of like the quintessential legend, because there's so much about them that is legendary and so much about them that is in the past, and yet I'm still getting reports of these nearly every week. Someone kind of contacts me about it.
You've become the pukwudgie guy, which is...
I am the pukwudgie guy, which, you know, I've said this before, being short, hairy, and Italian kind of puts me at a perfect advantage to kind of take that position. So I will be the pukwudgie guy for as long as people will have me.
And so sightings are still happening, because you said you're getting emails, but from all over, not just Massachusetts?
All over. And of course, like I said, they're called different things. I actually am trying to follow up here in Florida, down in Miami. A tribe out of Miami has them, and they're actually called the pukwudgies. There's a Native American tribe in Indiana who also calls them pukwudgies, although it's spelled differently. But other than that, these small little creatures appear everywhere. And actually, I was talking with Matt Moniz the other day, and we were kind of discussing a classic UFO abduction case, which kind of maybe tips into the realm of pukwudgies as well. So the catchiness of the word is allowing a lot of people to kind of ask me questions about it and want to know about it, when what's happening is a lot of these old stories, whether they're legends, whether they're experiences that people had they couldn't explain, or even abduction cases, people are coming to me saying, I always thought I had an alien abduction, and the more that I heard you talk, I think it might have been a pukwudgie, especially based on kind of the description of it. So there's something that I think has been happening for centuries, will continue to happen, and it's really this kind of unexplained thing within the unexplained. We really don't know that much about them, and oftentimes the only kind of connection we have to them, or the only time we know that they've really have been in existence, when there are these other elements to the pukwudgie that show themselves. Not only a physical encounter with a pukwudgie, but with these kind of flashes, these orbs of light, which they call taipaiwunkas. People also see them in places where other people have seen pukwudgies. And then, of course, there's also this kind of shadow figure type character who seems to watch over this interplay of these taipaiwunkas, which lure people into kind of secluded places and to potentially to abduct them or kill them, and then the actual furry little pukwudgies themselves.
Okay, so you said something here that's really interesting, and this is one of the nature of legends in general. So a woman said, I thought I was being abducted by aliens, but now that I hear what you're saying, maybe it was a pukwudgie. And so is this a witness adapting to the cool guy in front of her, and story, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think that when people experience something, and this is when you're really talking about legends and the paranormal, a lot of what happens is the backstory of what somebody experiences, they attribute to something that can fall into the realm of legend. For example, they're having all these weird experiences, and they assume their house is buried on an ancient Indian burial ground or something like that. And I think something very similar is happening with kind of the pukwudgie, is that people kind of, when they experience something and they don't understand it, and it's not something that's part of their normal experiences, it's not something that they can rationalize in their head, they can't even maybe process it the right way, they use the filters that they know.
Right.
So if there's someone who's kind of maybe done Bigfoot research or cryptozoological research, they associate it with that, or alien abductions or ghosts. In this case, bringing the pukwudgie, I think, is kind of influencing people to think not necessarily that they've had a Pukwudgie experience, but wait a minute, now I've got this new filter, and now that makes sense to me, so I want to grab onto that so I can rationalize something that makes me very unbalanced and very kind of uncomfortable because I don't get it.
Right, right. Well, these things have gone mainstream. We've got a children's book cover. This came out in 1989, I believe, and it's called, there it is, The Good Giants and the Bad Pukwudgies. Really interesting, illustrated by Tommy DiPaola, really well-known children's book author and illustrator today. I know my daughter's got a few of his books. I mean, you made it into a children's book. That's
it's really weird. When I first started doing my research, and I started researching them when I found out about them doing my book Dark Woods, Cults, Crime, and the Paranormal, because the Freetown State Forest, which that book is about, has a lot to do with, there's been a lot of sightings there. When I initially started doing my research, if you would do a Google search, the only thing you would find is that children's book. And it would come back, maybe 100 hits, Amazon, Libris, a whole bunch of different places like that. When you put it in now, thousands of things come up. So people are really kind of there's actually even a Pukwudgie.com now. Discovery Kids has latched onto them and put them in their list of cryptozoologists. I think it's something that's always been there and something that kind of people have just had a different name for. It's just now it's kind of people are understanding that this might have something to do with something that they've experienced.
right, right. It's funny. Some of the stations that air this show sometimes get mad at us for mentioning .coms, but the thing about Pukwudgie.com, I dare you to spell it. Not you, Chris. I know you know how to spell it. But the general viewer right now is going, I got nothing. What do I type in? P-U, yeah. We won't tell him. We'll keep it a secret. But we do have a question for you in our chat room. Please, Sarah.
We do, and I had to paper, rock, scissors for it because it's so good.
All right.
Someone mentioned that there's a Pukwudgie ale, as in beer. Is this true?
What a Pukwudgie ale beer? Is that true?
It is true.
I know, it's so good.
And why are we not serving it in 30-odd minutes? There is, and I don't know.
I'm on it.
Get it.
And I always assumed it was, sometimes when you put names in search engines, you come up with, for example, if you put my name into certain engines, you can come up with a Balzano ale. So I always thought it might have been just like they're putting the name on it, but it's definitely hair of the Pukwudgie that bit you.
Oh man! Oh jeez! Oh goodness! And on that note, very good. Okay, so talk about what these legends are. Why do some stories just compel us to talk about places and things, and others don't? I mean, that is the nature of the legend, right?
Right. I think that its main kind of draw to us is that it explains, or at least looks to categorize something that we can't process with our brains, that we don't necessarily know what's going on, and so we want some kind of comfort in it. And it kind of touches this, a really good legend, before anything, has to have a good narrative flow to it. It's got to be a good story. You can try to start a legend, and it's not going to be any good if it's just, some really half-baked story. So its initial thing is it explains something to us. It's a good story. We want to have something explained to us. And, these legends are nothing new. It's kind of odd that, now that paranormal investigating is kind of becoming a religion unto itself, maybe the legends of the paranormal are kind of becoming more mythology and more something that people are falling back like a root of the actual religion, because so many paranormal investigators that I speak to or work with are very hardcore science people, and they believe in truth and they believe in evidence, and yet they fall for some of the classic things. I don't know how many investigators I've talked to who have said to me that they were going to investigate where a train hit a busload of kids, and now the kids pushed the car, and it's like, right. That's a legend. That doesn't exist, and yet these are people who normally are very, have their head on tight. So it's the story that pulls us in, and it's that kind of explanation that we get.
Right. Now, what's your favorite urban legend?
Wow. I think probably my favorite urban legend, just because it's an always evolving thing. It adapts to the time. It kind of crosses over. Has got to be the killer clown urban legend. And the reason why I like that, I think there's maybe some more that freak me out more. I mean, I can really stand on one side of that and say it doesn't exist, and yet, in modern days, we have the people who are following the insane clown posse, who are doing some very violent and kind of criminal things. We've got a legend that can maybe potentially be tracked down to kind of where it started, and yet also seems to pop up originally in different places almost simultaneously, although it seemed to start in Boston primarily. It's a legend that I myself experienced and touched. when I made huge signs warning people passing by not to allow clowns to talk to them because they were going to abduct their kids and kill them. But then there's also this crossover element to it. I was investigating some stories out in Lawrence, which is about 30 miles from Boston. And what I found was there was this area where kids were told not to go someplace because the ghost of kids who had been killed by the clowns were going to get them if they did. And so it was this kind of urban legend which backed up a potential haunting, which then kind of folded back into another legend. And I really think it's kind of one of the most evolved and one of those urban legends that's really kind of drips into reality and perhaps may be the inspiration of some very serious crimes, including the Smiley Clown cult killers, which is the hypothetical killings that are going on across the country as well. So that's probably what I'm going to have to say.
Yeah, no, and let's face it, clowns are awful scary for a lot of people. And is it because, I mean, were they scary 20 years ago, before Stephen King's books, before all these legends started going around? There's a distortion there. A lot of kids scream when they see a clown. I don't know. I'm not too fond. No offense to our clown fans, both of you.
You know, I was watching Poltergeist. With kind of my hardened sophomores at the end of the year. Not only did all of them find that movie absolutely horrifying, they were jumping out of their seats, but all of them refused to look at the clown. And all of them, as soon as they saw that clown at the first scene, knew that clown was going to come back to cause something. And I felt kind of bad. I'm like, that's what I've been trying to teach you about literature the whole year, is that, you know, you put something in the beginning that comes back in the end. But they automatically, when they saw that clown, they got freaked out. My daughter, the same thing. She's 1 year old. She flips right by the C page in her dictionary, her letter book, because she hates looking at that clown. So there's definitely something about it.
I think it's genetic from the Balzano genes, no question.
I think it is. I won't even talk about my wife's weird and creepy clown collection. So
good. All right.
Only because she's looking at me from over there. So,
Chris, we got to take a quick break for a field report. This one comes all the way from Long Island, New York, and yours truly was there just a couple days ago, and we filed this. Check it out.
Hey, this is Dave and Jeff. We are on an independent shoot, and this is pretty exciting. Got a lot of action last night on a paranormal investigation we went on, and the producer set up a little something special for Jeff and I. When we go out on the road, we like to find some hopping action, some places that are just crazy and off the charts. So they promised us that they found the best.
I can't wait to see this place, man. I've heard about it, and finally go there. This is exciting.
Yeah, because I mean, this is world renowned. This is probably one of the most famous locations in the world, and for two guys like us looking for some action, looking for some real intense moments, this is exactly what we're looking for. So
could be a hot spot from what I've heard. Could be very hot. Very hot. Absolutely.
So we're going to take you along with us, and then we'll be able to film as much as they allow us to film, I guess, right? All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
This is it, buddy. This is it.
I can't believe we're here.
Amazing.
Stay out of the yard, no. Oh, horror house.
I thought they said horror house.
Oh man, totally different place. Forget it.
Yeah, it's the Amityville Horror House, not the whorehouse. Nothing, huh? Nothing? We were in Amityville and went to the Amityville house. That was it, folks. Come on, we had to hunt that sucker down. Yeah, you know what's funny? I felt like such a goober doing that. And, well, we were there for all of 3 minutes. Many other cars were stopping, doing the same thing, taking pictures. And recently that house was for sale. It just sold for over $1 million. It's a beautiful home. The neighborhood's really close by. The windows have changed, but that was indeed the DeFeo house. Legend tripping through Long Island. And now one of the most famous haunts ever because of the book, because of all the movies. Christopher Balzano, let's talk about ghosts and hauntings. What a segue that was. Why is it these locations? Why is it ghosts? And like you said earlier, it's turning into a belief system as far as looking for ghosts. Ghostly legends speak to something primal. How did you get into ghosts?
Well, actually, another $1 million property. When I was a freshman, sophomore in college, my dormitory was one of the most haunted buildings in Boston, the Charles Gate Hotel, which I think you have a picture of.
We do have a picture of that. Yeah, we're working on it. Keep talking.
All right. And
There it is.
While there, I had a lot of odd experiences and a lot of kind of things that were unexplained. You know, some of it was rats, some of it was just the wacky people that Emerson College attracted. But what I found was that people were having experiences throughout the hotel and had had experiences in the hotel for decades. And what happened is that people were all of a sudden having experiences or talking about experiences that they didn't have, that they heard someone else had years ago. And then I would hear it and I would say, wait a minute, I've heard that story before. Okay, if you tell me something is touching you on the shoulder in the middle of the night, that's an experience. If you're telling me that you're smelling cigarette smoke or your friend has smelled cigarette smoke because there's a ghost of a woman who used to live in the dorm who couldn't get kicked out because she had rent, she had rent security, and she used to smoke, and then when she died, they couldn't find her body for days, and then they found her, they put her out, so now there's this smoke smell that comes. It's like, well, wait a minute, I've heard a story like that before, and so that weird mixture of kind of legend and haunting kind of inspired me to kind of separate the two, to celebrate the two as two individual things, but to kind of go out there and say, well, wait a minute, what part is the legend and what part is the actual haunting? And actually, Charlesgate is a really interesting example because the woman who supposedly lived there actually had lived there decades before she supposedly died and was the person who ran the front desk. And now the funny part is that me myself and those stories that I've written have become part of the lore. And so when people kind of take ghost tours, they stop by Charlesgate and they mix experiences that I had with experiences that people had, decades ago, and they kind of make this whole new story. So it's this ever-evolving kind of mythology coming out of there. And I think that, you ask, why do some places have it and some places don't? And I think part of it has to be a place that can inspire it. Some place like, Dungeon Rock, which you also have a picture of. A place that kind of has a past to it, but also looks the part. And then what you have to have is decades,
there it is,
or I think at least different cycles of people coming through that borrow from each other's legends and kind of add to it and add their own thing, which is why in Massachusetts, you have the Native Americans who were supplanted by the Europeans, the English specifically, who then were kind of replaced in areas like where my books are about, the Portuguese, Cape Verdean, Brazilian, who bring their own traditions. Now they hear a story, they put it through their Portuguese filter, and now all of a sudden the story evolves and becomes something different. If you break it down, really myths throughout and legends throughout cultures are all the same. It's that ethnic spin. And what's great about America is because people have lived in different places at different times, we have this real kind of mixing of in this collection of stories that kind of borrow from all these other different cultures.
Right on. Okay, Chris, we do have another question for you in the chat room. Rob, what say you?
We're going to squeeze a couple in. First of all, they want to know, have you personally ever seen a pukwudgie or experienced a ghost haunting?
Have you seen a pukwudgie?
I have not seen a pukwudgie. I have been kind of in a situation where I was inundated with these Taipaiwunkas in an area that was very well known for pukwudgie attacks. They were kind of basically leading me into the woods, and then I was surrounded by this kind of flock of lights that were just bursting. And then as I began to kind of leave that experience, which is another way of me saying I was scared and I was running, all of a sudden, the large shadow figure that I talked about kind of came up out of the ground. So the actually furry or hairy pukwudgie, I have not seen, but I've seen kind of the things that surround it.
Very cool. And the other question, of course, was ghosts. Have you had a ghost encounter? Would you call that a ghost encounter, what you just described, the shadow figure?
I would. I think pukwudgies is really hard to define whether or not they're a cryptozoological thing, whether they're a ghostly thing, and they kind of fall in this realm of different things. But I think because they're so associated with areas that are haunted, and because they have those kind of two haunted bookends, the dark figure as well as the orbs of light, I feel comfortable calling it a ghost experience. I've had other ghost experiences as well, but I'm kind of definitely comfortable more calling it a ghostly, elemental kind of thing than a cryptozoological thing.
All right, fair enough. And Rob, there was one more question.
Yes, finally from a Gnosis404. She wants to know about your Ouija board experience in Charlesgate.
What's your Ouija board experience in Charlesgate? You got a hardcore fan in there.
I know. Okay, how much time is left for the... basically what happened is we were using the Ouija board pretty hardcore, using it every night, especially because we had some friends visiting. And we began to get this spirit who called itself federal government. And federal government hated my roommate, as I didn't feel fond about him either, but hated my roommate because he was a real womanizer, and by that I mean he slept with everybody. And we used to joke that he was sleeping through the alphabet because it just happened to fall that way. And so when federal government would kind of push its other spirits off and kind of beyond the board, it would scroll through the letters, and that's how we knew it was him or it. And it said that it wanted to kill him. And there was, several kind of weird things that happened. But one night we were talking, it came on, it said it wanted to kill him. And he's like, I don't believe in any of this stuff anymore. That's it. I'm getting out of here. I'm sick of hearing this. And he went into the bathroom. The federal government went away. We were talking to another spirit. And all of a sudden, the federal government pushed its way back on. And as it began to scroll through letters, and it began to go, ha, 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 H-A, H-A, H-A. And so we said, well, what are you laughing at? It just kept going at AC/DC, AC/DC, AC/DC. And then, finally, it kind of went off again. My roommate came back maybe 30 seconds later. He's white as a ghost. And he says,
good one.
I just had the weirdest experience. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, I was taking a shower, and when, I turned on the water, and then the lights were out. So I kind of screwed the light bulb back in, kind of got everything ready, got into the shower. I'm in the shower. For no reason, the light went out again. And my first instinct was to kind of reach up and grab the light bulb. And he's like, but I realized I was soaking wet. I would have been electrocuted. So we're like, oh, AC/DC. So a few months later, he goes to his kind of hometown, for the summer. When he comes back, he's like, you won't believe this. I was talking with this girl, and this girl, he's treated her absolutely horribly throughout his life. He would date her, then dump her, then cheat on her, and all this horrible stuff. And he said he was talking to her about these kind of ghost experiences he had, and didn't get specific, but said he had them, and she interrupted and was like, I had this really weird story. There's this spirit got on a Ouija board when I was a kid, and it got it back on again a few months ago, and it said it was, I was its wife, it was going to protect me, it loved me, it would kill anyone that tried to hurt me. And he said, well, what was the name of the spirit? And he said, federal government. So it's just one of those very weird moments where it's kind of like, there's a lot in the paranormal world that you can explain, or you can go out there and try to investigate, but how do you explain something like that if it's true, which it is true.
Right. So you're a believer in the paranormal, or are they just stories?
I think that people's experiences can't be classified as having happened or not happened. I've had paranormal experiences, so I know ghosts exist. Other people, I'm not consumed with the word debunk. I'm not confused with the word, or I'm not consumed with the word debunk or truth as much as I am, what was the emotion of what happened? What did people believe happened to them? Because that's really what's important. And then, of course, for me as a writer and as a researcher, it's about collecting that information, trying to maybe get something behind it, some kind of information I can kind of give that might explain it, and then presenting it. So really, I think that ghosts exist, but I think they don't need to exist for a really good ghost story to happen.
Right, of course. And actually, you and I were together once for a ghost experience at the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River,
yes.
Massachusetts.
Right, and no matter how someone might be able to go in there, no one can at that moment for us take away what we experienced. Was right. No one was supposed to be in the house, and yet we heard what we heard. And that's the way the paranormal is. And I think that sometimes we become so consumed with wanting to put it through the filter of science that we forget that experience is kind of most important to the people who experience it. Excuse me.
Don't worry, we'll edit that out.
The end is near.
The end is near. Wait a minute, we're live. Chris, that brings us pretty much right up to the end. Thank you so much for being with us. If you've got questions, email us, info@30oddminutes.com. Visit our website. You can watch the archives. You can ask us questions. We can hear about future guests. Chris, what else do you have coming up here? Real quick.
I'm working on the Ghost Village News, kind of putting a lot of time and effort into that. So please go see that. And other than that, I'm kind of working on a new page having to do strictly with the legends that I'm working on, as well as a book on that. So
excellent.
Look for me in the future.
Prolific author, great guy. Chris, thank you for doing this, and we're going to be seeing you soon. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again. I love your approach. I love that it's legend, it's fact, it's the human experience, and that's really what we can talk about. I don't think we can put this on a scientific level just yet, unfortunately, but we can certainly talk about some of these great stories and legends. So great stuff, great stuff. And who'd have thought Sasquatch,
thank you very much.
Sasquatch is a pothead and Cypress Hill is into marijuana. Had no idea. All right, folks, for all the oddballs here, I'm Jeff Belanger. Until next time, stay odd. All right, thank you, Chris. All right. Chris, you were...